Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.
The first biography of one of Oklahoma's most famous sons will be the topic on Read About It tonight. Hi, I'm B.J. Williams. With me is Bob Burke to talk about his biography of Ralph Ellison. We also have Susie Beasley. Kids Corner will feature Ronna Davis. Doug Benton and Joy Reed-Belt will also tell us about books. Coming up, Bob Burke.
The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It, with your host, B.J. Williams.
A native of Broken Bow, Bob Burke is a practicing attorney and one of the most prolific authors Oklahoma's ever seen. He is a regular visitor on Read About It simply because he produces so many wonderful books, mostly about Oklahomans. And Bob, you're here today to tell us about your book, which is, you told me earlier, the first biography of Ralph Ellison.
The first full life biography of Ralph Ellison, who, by the way, for many years has been my favorite Oklahoma male author. Angie DeBow is my favorite female author. But Ralph Ellison was the first Oklahoman to win the National Book Award. He's best known, of course, for his Invisible Man that most of us have read through high school. Incredible look into a perspective from a black American. And what a wonderful tribute it is for Ralph Ellison for the book to come out this week. But also next week, Ralph will be inducted finally into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, a long-awaited honor for him.
That's something, he's been nominated for many, many years, and he's finally going to get it posthumously, but better late than never, I guess.
Yes, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame for many years had a policy of not inducting anyone who was gone. But last year they changed that, and Lloyd Noble was the first posthumous award, and now Ralph Ellison is the second inductee into the Hall of Fame posthumously.
Well, obviously, one of the impetuses to do this biography is he's your favorite author, but were there other things that prompted you to finally sit down and do the biography?
Well, frankly, earlier in the year, when I discovered that he was going to be inducted into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, I thought I will look on the internet and find some biography that surely someone has written about this great author. Couldn't find anything. Nobody had written a story about this great Oklahoman. So Dinavetta Davis and I teamed up. I'd known Dinavetta in a Ralph Ellison context because I'd written books on Roscoe Dunjee and Jimmy Stewart. And as you know, Dinavetta was the manager for like 18 years of the Ralph Ellison Library. So I knew she knew something about Ralph Ellison. Well, it turned out she had met Mr. Ellison on several occasions. And so we teamed up and did a substantial amount of research, and the book arrived just in time for Mr. Ellison's induction into the Hall of Fame.
So this is what I was impressed with, what a well-rounded biography it was, and how much you brought of Ellison. There are an awful lot of quotes in there directly from Mr. Ellison.
Well, he's about one of the most quotable persons in history, I believe. He just was such a great writer and such a thoughtful writer. What I was so intrigued about, though, was his humble beginnings in Oklahoma City. I knew he was from Oklahoma City. I knew he graduated from Douglas High School, but that's really all I knew about Ralph Ellison. And the book is slanted toward his roots in Oklahoma. He lost his father when he was 3. His father was an iceman and a giant. Remember when the giant, I know you're not old enough, BJ, but others who are old enough will remember when there were large, the iceman came by with big chunks of ice, and one of those fell on his father. So Ralph lost his father at age 3. And that was a very important part of his life, because he searched for a father figure, I believe. He never said that. But then he had great heroes of Oklahoma, people like Roscoe Dunjee, who founded the Black Dispatch, Inman Page, who was the supervisor of the African American or the black schools in Oklahoma City. And he had really great heroes that formed his life. The other wonderful thing about writing the book was I reread all of his works. He is known best for, of course, Invisible Man. But then he wrote a number of essays, hundreds of essays for the rest of his life, especially a collection of those called Going to the Territory, are many ramblings about his days in Oklahoma City. So I was able to piece together much of his childhood from his own writings, because of course almost everyone is gone who grew up with him. I did 10 years ago, before Jimmy Stewart died, I interviewed Jimmy Stewart about Ralph Ellison, knowing that someday I would write a Ralph Ellison book. So some of his childhood friends I was able to talk to, even though they're all gone now.
Yeah, well, that was very clever of you to be thinking ahead that far. So one of the things that impressed me was that Ralph Ellison, in a way, was the fruit of what brought a lot of African Americans to Oklahoma. Was that it was the territory, it was a place to get away from the South, to start over. There were a lot of African American towns that were founded here in Oklahoma for that very reason.
Well,
and apparently his parents wanted the same thing.
His parents came from the East looking for a new land, for a new freedom. There was this talk, because there was talk in early Oklahoma that this would be an all-black state. There are people like E.P. McCabe, who founded Langston, who really believed that that's what this was going to be. So there was this new freedom. And Ralph Ellison was a product of that. He was a product of the poverty of Northeast Oklahoma City. But he was the product of a loving mother who would on Sundays take him down to the nice sections, the white sections of Oklahoma City, and just walk around. And then she was often a maid in some of the white mansions in town. And she would take them down on Sundays downtown and show them the finer things of life in store windows. And said, if you work hard, if you always be honest, if you do your very best, you can accomplish this also. So she had great training from an uneducated mother.
Well, she was also, I believe, according to your book, involved somewhat in trying to get full rights for African Americans.
Absolutely. Even though Ralph Ellison himself was sometimes criticized, especially during the 60s, for not being an activist. His mother was very much an activist back in the 1930s when there were horrible housing discrimination practices in Oklahoma City. It was Mrs. Ellison who was out on the front lines and was often arrested. And then her son, Ralph's younger brother, beat up one of the guys who was on his mother one time. So that's when Ralph writes his mother from Tuskegee and says, okay, cool it. So that ended her anti-housing discrimination. But see, Ellison had so much influence from Deep Deuce, that wonderful part of Oklahoma City's history down on 2nd Street, of where Charlie Christian and other future jazz greats would get their training, because Ralph Ellison didn't want to be a writer. He wanted to be a trumpet player. He wanted to be a jazz musician. Went off to Tuskegee to study music and on to New York to establish a world of fame as a jazz musician. But then he became a great writer.
And I think it's the music. If you read his work, I think you can feel that music, that rhythm. And
no question. Some of his essays were about jazz. Nobody knew more about jazz than Ralph Ellison, because he had lived that down on Deep Deuce, and then so many of his writings reflect that. In fact, it's significant. In 2002, of course, the Metropolitan Library System has chosen that to honor him for a year-long celebration of the 50th anniversary of the release of Invisible Man. But Random House has re-released that book. It's selling like hotcakes all across the country. There's a renewed interest. And Sony even has a new CD that's called Ralph Ellison. You think, well, this Ralph Ellison music? No, it's a collection of Ralph Ellison's favorite jazz musicians and the favorite pieces. So a lot of interest in Oklahoma City's Ralph Ellison, certainly in the year 2002.
So actually you could get the book and put on the CD and listen to the jazz while you read his book.
I'm going to do that tonight, because I bought the CD. In fact, I bought the CD so that I could use the CD cover as an illustration in the book.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you so much, Bob, for being with us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
We've had with us today Bob Burke. He's been telling us about Ralph Ellison, a biography. It's hot off the press. You can find it at your local library and your favorite bookstore. Coming up next, I managed to talk with Susie Beasley about a book that she really enjoyed. I think you'll enjoy what she had to say. Okay, Susie, what have you brought for us tonight?
A nice mystery with all kind of twists and turns. This is Chopping Spree by Diane Mott Davison. Of course, she's written Sticks and Scones and several others that have a little twist with the recipes. This is about a caterer. Her name is Goldie, and she's hired to come and do some catering for a really good friend of hers named Barry. Well, when she shows up to do the catering gig, she finds him. After she set all her things up in the kitchen, she finds him dead with her carving knife in the chest. So that leads into, well, of course, she's arrested. And when the police come to arrest, they don't arrest her. They arrest her assistant. So she has to snoop and try to find out who really did her friend in. So this leads into all kind of just chaos and things like that. The setting is in Colorado, of course, in Aspen, so you've got all the trappings and things like that.
Ooh, so we're dealing with the rich and famous.
Correct. You're dealing with the rich and famous, and most of the people there are over-caffeinated, so you've got a lot of things going on there. And they have a certain culinary taste. Of course, there are all these different suspects, and she doesn't know who to really pinpoint, so if everybody is a suspect. And so she ends up going through all these different things, including a Shopaholics Anonymous meeting, because they were basically going to be doing this huge food fair deal in the mall. And from that, she has all these different recipes, including the chopping spree. And chopping spree is really a salad. So because on the cover you see all these different garden vegetables and oils and vinaigrettes and things like this. So they have a lot of dramatic tension in this book, and the setting is just awesome. Now, a lot of the people that are followers of Diane Mott Davison, they say, well, this is kind of campy, but it's really a fun mystery.
Well, and it sounds like it's got some great recipes as well.
That is correct. So the fans can go back and say, okay then, wow, she's still adding those recipes, and they're pretty good too.
So you've tried them, have you, Susie?
Yes. Yeah. Kind of like party food.
Does she have the same detective person each time, or does she move around in the culinary world?
She moves around in the culinary world. It's just not that one thing. So yes, she sure does.
Okay. So do you think people that don't like to cook would enjoy this as well?
People that don't like to cook will enjoy this because it's a different twist. There are other books out there that have recipes and chefs and cooks and all that. But I think the setting, being in Colorado, a lot of people may not have been there before, and they may not know about the foibles and habits of the residents of that neck of the woods.
Okay, Susie, tell us the author and title again, please.
The author of the book is Diane Mott Davison, and this is called Chopping Spree, and it's a good mystery.
Thanks, Susie, and you can find this book at your library and your favorite bookstore. With me now is Doug Benton. I am going to amaze him with my newfound knowledge of cogs, neffs, galleys, and galleons. You don't even know what I'm talking about, do you, Doug?
I know what a galleon is. I'm not so sure about cogs and neffs, however.
Cogs and neffs actually are predecessors of galleons.
Oh, all right.
So the book I'm talking about today is written by John F. Gilmartin. It's called Galleons and Galleys. It's the story of naval warfare from about 1450 to 1650. And it's the period when galleons were developed, when galleys, which are the rowboats, were modified because of a little thing that was imported from China, gunpowder.
Oh, that. I've heard of that.
That little thing. He actually starts by describing a battle in which gunpowder played very little to the outcome of the whole thing. He starts with a French and English battle. I can't even pronounce the name of the place, but
do it like this with your hand over your mouth. There you go.
And during the 100 Years' War, gunpowder really didn't play a role. This was very much where you tried to get as close to your opponent as possible and board, and then shoot them with crossbows or cut them down with swords. But as cannon were developed, and Gilmartin gets into this a little bit, once cannon became strong enough and well enough made that they could actually be fired without worrying too much about being blown up, you had to develop a different kind of ship to carry them.
That makes sense.
So that's when the galleon came in into being. It's a descendant of the cog, which was just really a merchantman, and which was modified once they actually started building ships for the purpose of making war, which also happened in this period. Then they modified the cog, made it bigger, they had to build gun decks and so on. And also the reasons for fighting changed a lot. Now Gil Martin is actually an Air Force guy. He attended the Air Force Academy and he taught at the Air Force Academy. He was a helicopter pilot. Somehow he got into naval warfare. Don't ask me how.
We'll let that go.
But this is a wonderfully illustrated book. It has not only illustrations from the period, but wonderful diagrams of the battles that he does cover. Anybody who's interested in the history of warfare leading up to what we consider the sailing ships that fought will enjoy this very much.
Good.
So the book again is Galleons and Galleys. It is by John F. Gilmartin, and you can find it at your library. Coming up next, we have Kids Corner. Kelly Rhea will be talking with Ronna Davis about a book for our young adults.
Hi, we have a great book today, a YA book. It's called I Am Morgan Le Fay. It's by Nancy Springer. Tell us about it, Ronnie.
Well, I really enjoyed this book, and it was something that just grabbed me, and I almost
right off the shelf.
literally couldn't put it down.
Great, great. Now, from the title, you might get an idea that it says A Tale from Camelot. Is it set in that time period?
It is set in mythological Camelot, which is not the same as whatever historical Arthurian times.
Fables have been handed down.
Fables have been handed down, and these fables have developed. So Morgan Le Fay is the fairy half-sister in this book of King Arthur, who ultimately becomes his enemy.
Really?
Yes.
Now, she's not like everyone else.
No, she isn't. For one thing, physically, she has one violet eye and one green eye, which marks her as actually as a fairy or potentially a fairy. And in this book, she starts out more as a human, but she finds a talisman or a little stone called a milpreve, which happens to be a stone of power. And that stone of power kind of draws her into a lot of different situations and adventures that she probably wouldn't have been involved in otherwise.
And she's coming of age.
And she is coming of age. She's a very young girl when we meet her, but she's very articulate. And we learn a lot about her and how she sees her family and the rest of the world.
And she has a lot of things to overcome.
Well, she does have a lot of things to overcome, mainly that her mother, who is the queen, has lost, at the beginning of the book, has just lost her husband in war. And at first she finds it hard to believe that her father has been killed, and gradually, as this reality sinks in, she wants to do something about it. And she's frustrated by the fact that she's just a little girl at that point.
But as the book goes on, you find out more and more that she has a fate.
She does, and she finds a little moonstone or milpreve in the dust, and it turns out to be an ancient magic thing, a talisman.
Oh, how exciting.
Ooh, yes.
It's called I Am Morgan Le Fay. It's by Nancy Springer. Find it at your local bookstore, at your favorite library.
Yo, see that girl? She sets the curve in my math class. Always has her homework right. Me? I hate homework, but I gotta do it, you know? But I found out her secret. She logs on to the Metro Library website and then clicks on their homework center. I couldn't believe what they have there. Help for math, science, English, and lots of other stuff too, like encyclopedias, newspapers, magazines, even science experiments. Metro Library's Homework Center website is one-stop shopping. You can even find the phone number of the nearest library so you can renew your library books. Check it out. It's like having the resources of an entire bookstore right in your computer. And since it's from Metro Library, you know the information will be dependable and up to the minute. But hey, I gotta go and log on and get to work. From now on, I'm setting the curve.
time now for the New York Times bestseller list. We'll start out with hardback fiction. Number 10 on that list is The Crush by Sandra Brown, Nights in Modanthe by Nicholas Sparks, Skipping Christmas by John Grisham, Reversible Errors by Scott Turow, Esther's Gift by Jan Karan, Quentin's by Maeve Binchy, Blackwood Farm by Anne Rice, Q is for Query by Sue Grafton. Number 2 is Alice Sebold's The Lovely Bones, and number 1 is Answered Prayers by Danielle Steele. On the nonfiction list, number 10 is Let Freedom Ring by Sean Hannity, Longitudes and Attitudes by Thomas Friedman, Let's Roll by Lisa Beamer with Ken Abraham, Stupid White Men by Michael Moore, Abraham by Bruce Feiler, The Conquerors by Michael Beschloss, Sandy Koufax by Jane Levy, Live from New York by Tom Shales and James Miller, My Losing Season by Pat Conroy is number 2, and Leadership by Rudy Giuliani with Ken Curson is number 1. On the children's list, number 10 is Hoot by Carl Hyacin, The Thief Lord by Cornelia Funke, Summerland by Michael Chabon, The Wide Window by Lemony Snicket, Tris by Brian Jacques, Double Fudge by Judy Bloom, The Reptile Room by Lemony Snicket, Junie B. First Grader Toothless Wonder by Barbara Park, Lemony Snicket's The Bad Beginning is number 2, and The Carnivorous Carnival, also by Lemony Snicket, is number 1. With me now is Levita Dent. She is Children's Programming Services.
Children's Services Coordinator.
Okay, I knew it was something to do. Sorry about that. But you're here to tell us what is happening in the libraries in the coming weeks that kids might be interested in getting involved in.
Yes, we have a lot of programs going on in December's programs is what I'm going to talk about today. For children's, we have, of course, the simple story times that are going on for all ages. We have them for the lap sits for the little babies, all the way up through 4 and 5, 6-year-olds.
Now that happens at every library. You need to contact the library closest to you and say, okay, when do you have these story times?
That's right, because every library has something going on in December. A lot of them also have holiday programs going on. The traditional Christmas programs. There's even a territorial Christmas program at one of the libraries. There's Hanukkah programs, and then there are some Kwanzaa programs as well. 3 of the major holidays in December. So one of the things that I wanted to point out is Belle Isle is having a teddy bear story time during December. And it's a Christmas, teddy bear remembers Christmas. And then in the Edmond Library, we have the Decking the Halls, the author Linda Allen from Stillwater's book, and she's going to talk about that with children.
Now she wrote a book about the history really of the various kinds of plants that we use at Christmas.
We use at Christmas,
So she's going to give a little talk with the kids.
And the folklore that go with those plants. Then the territorial Christmas that I talked about is put on by the Harns Homestead with some crafts.
Oh, so they'll get
go
to
along.
maybe make Victorian Christmas ornaments or something like that.
Right.
Sounds like fun.
And some holiday beading projects as well going on at 2 of the different libraries.
Now, folk really do need to call their local library and find out, because a lot of these, I know, there is no charge, but they need to know in advance how many kids are going to be there.
Right, and some of them are limited in how many they can handle because of limited supplies. And so, yes, those you need to sign up for, and just talk to that library and find out when you can sign up and that type of thing.
But you don't have to go just to your local library, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
You can attend a program at any of the libraries, and when you get the Metro magazine that comes out at the end of this month, It will have the December programs, and it will tell you many times the sign-up date when you can start signing up for these programs as well. But if it doesn't have that information, still call that library before you try to go over there or sign up.
And you can also check it out on the web, because all of the programs are listed.
And they're already listed on the web now.
Great. And I would like to add that we don't have programming just for children. That is our main emphasis in the Metropolitan Library
We have
system.
some made-for-teen programs at several libraries, as well as adult programs.
And those they can find also in the Metro Library and on the web as well.
That's right.
So, and I'm sure you've got some exciting things that are coming up in January. We don't really want to talk about them that much right now.
That's right.
Because we've got lots going on. But if you want to learn about Kwanzaa and Hanukkah as well as Christmas, check out the magazine, and you could actually sign up and go to all of those programs, couldn't you?
That's right. And any library you could think of, there's something going there. Any library.
And I would recommend the story times, because you can really entertain your kids and yourself as well.
That's right.
By listening to
and get
those.
a little fun activity while you're there.
Right. Thank you very much, Levita, for being with us.
Thank you.
Coming up next is M.J. Vandeventer, Director of Publications at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. She'll be talking with Joy Reed Belt about a book that she really enjoyed.
Joy, welcome.
Well, welcome to you for asking me to come.
Well, I'm delighted to have you here, and we're going to talk about something perhaps a little bit different.
Yes.
The books that shaped you and probably helped make you the success that you are today as a search consultant.
Well, you know, very early on, the first books that I remember reading, and I think my mother, of course, read to me when I was quite small, but a neighbor gave us 27 Hardy Boy mysteries.
Oh, what a treasure.
The whole set. And I don't think I started reading them, and I wasn't even in the first grade yet. And I read and cherished those. I remember that I made little envelopes and glued them in the books and had little pieces of paper. I would check them out to my neighbors.
Oh, my.
But reading those books and trying to solve the mystery before the end of the book, I think helped me a great deal as throughout my life as I try to solve problems and investigate things.
And analyze things.
Yeah, and analyze things. And it was a great help, and I enjoyed doing that. And I still read mysteries. And over the years, I've collected first edition mysteries. And sometimes I read short stories of mystery writers and try to decide who's going to become a famous writer. And then I get their first book.
How interesting.
Yeah, it's been an interesting thing to do all my life.
Did you not read Nancy Drew like most of the rest of us
I don't think
did?
I've ever read a Nancy Drew book, but
Really?
I've read all the Hardy Boy mysteries.
I grew up on Nancy Drew.
You did.
You read constantly.
I read all the time. I have several books started. I have books started at my office, books started in different rooms of the house. And somehow, the two books I was going to talk to today, there are some similarities in those books, although when I bought them, I didn't know that there would be. The first one is Renoir, My Father, written by Renoir's son, which is a wonderful biography of Renoir and also of his son. And it starts, in Paris with Renoir's birth. And it is just an amazing book. The son came to the United States and became a film person and also had a gallery for a while during the war.
There's quite a bit of similarity there with your life, because you have a new gallery.
I do. I do.
Paseo.
I do. In Nansheet's old house. And then the other book, Gwen John, is a book about a female painter about roughly the same age period as Renoir's son. And she was Rodin's mistress. And Rodin and, of course, Renoir were contemporaries. And so it's very interesting to read their perspective of the art world in France during that period of time and during their lives. Are very different, but yet they're the same. And so it's wonderfully rich that you learn what Paris was like and what the art market was like. And all their friends were the artists that we treasure today.
Well, thank you so much for sharing these books with us. It was a delight to have you here today.
I enjoyed it.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
I know it is wet, and the sun is not sunny.
Hi, my name is Jose Jimenez of your Metropolitan Library Commission. You know, most experts tell us that if you just spend 20 minutes a day reading to your child, You're not only building a bond that lasts a lifetime, but you're also preparing that child to learn how to read. Check with the experts at your Metropolitan Library for suggestions on just the right books for you and your family. And visit us at our website at www.metrolibrary.org.
Check out everything you need to know about the library or want to know about the library at its website, www.metrolibrary.org. You can find out all about the children's programs we were talking about earlier. You may want to look for a special program about Australia at War Acres. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time.